And Ohtani torches one, tosses the bat, and watches it fly.
Tonight, as Schwarber lifts one to deep right field, it's number 300.
Indiana deep left center field. It's back. It is gone. Fernando wants it off.
Look at this. Are you kidding me? He is back.
Whether it's good morning, good afternoon, or good night, welcome back to another Rubber Match Baseball podcast. I am your host, Joshua Northcutt, and with me, as always, the Monday man himself, Blake Flynn. Garrett won't be joining us today as he's making the long trip from Nashville back to Cincinnati, so you're just going to have to deal with me and Blake. Blake, how was your weekend, man?
It was pretty good. Went camping with the girlfriends and her family, or girlfriend, excuse me. Was trying to that did not sound right. Only one girlfriend, but went camping with them. Saw some fireworks on the boat. I personally now believe fireworks look better when you're on the water. Maybe that's just me, but it was a pretty surreal experience. How you doing, Josh?
Not too bad, man. Just been doing a lot of busy housework type stuff. We watched/chaperoned, whatever you want to say. Basically, we babysat a dog all weekend and somehow turned into the dog staying with us. So, yeah, you foster for a weekend, and apparently he just never leaves. You'll probably hear him whining a little bit behind me at some point. But, no, it was a good 4th of July weekend. Had to work, but, can't really complain. However, we're going to go ahead and start things off. A little bit of a change up of how the show is going to work. The first thing will be the first pitch. We'll just go over some MLB headlines. So, Blake, I'll throw it to you first. What is your number one headline?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a little break from the actual action and just look at something that's been going on, especially surrounding the players. Another player has been busted and being investigated for gambling. That is Luis Ortiz, a starting pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians, was recently just placed on administrative leave by the MLB as they conduct their investigation. Looking into this, there were really two specific pitches that were flagged that both had bets placed on those exact pitches. Both pitches were to start an inning, and both balls were sliders, and they looked like egregious balls that were thrown on purpose. Maybe we can get the video here somehow, but one was to Randy Arozarena, and then another one was to a Cardinals player. I forget his name, but both balls, the one to Arozarena looked pretty normal, but the one against the Cardinals player, he literally just threw it in the dirt. It was very well could easily have looked like it had been on purpose. Garcia wasn't having a great year, 4-9 on the year with a 4.26 ERA. And this has become a problem that we've seen last year. Tucupita Marcan got banned for life. And Michael Kelly, Jay Groom, Jose Rodriguez, and Andrew Salfrank all received 1-year bans in that same investigation as well. And of course, don't forget you had the whole Shohei Ohtani when it was actually Ippy Matsuyama thing going on at the start of last season. So gambling's still a huge problem in the MLB, and Luis Ortiz is just the latest victim.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things that me and Paris were going to talk about on Thursday or Friday whenever we did the show, but we held off since the news kind of just broke. We wanted to wait and see the fallout of it. Not too much news has come in from it, but as you mentioned, that second pitch, I mean, it missed by a mile. Yeah. The first one, you could maybe make an excuse. It got away from him, but that second one wasn't even close. Where I was going to go headline-wise was the Nationals have fired both their GM and manager, and now Miguel Cairo has been named interim manager for the Nationals. Blake, any thoughts on that whole ordeal and organization movement by the Nationals?
Yeah, I think this was kind of a thing where we expected it to happen, especially with Dave Martinez. It just hadn't worked since Soto and Harper left and they won the World Series in 2019. And you could have made the case that he should have deserved to have been fired a year or two ago. And now all of a sudden they're finally making that decision. Obviously, the Nationals aren't in the greatest of spots right now. Sure, they do have guys like James Wood and CJ Abrams performing and being young stars, but they're just not in a position to win right now unless they majorly shake up the roster. And I think this was a good move on the part of the Nationals by not only letting Martinez go, but also Rizzo, their general manager as well. And then, yeah, Miguel Cairo, obviously a former player. We saw this last year with the White Sox, or a year or two ago. I forget exactly when they brought in Grady Sizemore to be their interim manager. So will be his first big chance to see what he can do as a manager. But I think this was ultimately the right move for the Nationals.
Yeah, I know our boy Will is extremely excited that this all went down. He's been calling
Absolutely.
for Martinez to be fired for at least a month in our TWSN group chat. But the Nationals were currently 37-53 when they made the move, 16 games out of first place with an 18-28 record at home, 19-25 on the road, 86 run differential. Not great. It'll be interesting to see. I've always kind of liked Miguel Cairo. He was one of those players that was like a do-it-all kind of guy. He never was going to have that pop or power, but a good utility bat off the bench if you needed to just have someone enter the lineup for a day or two. So it'll be interesting to see how he can turn things around and if he can turn things around. What's your second headline, Blake?
Yeah, so obviously we just had the All-Star game rosters announced. Obviously, a lot of really deserving players made another All-Star appearance. People like Jacob Wilson making their first start after his electric rookie season he's been going on. But with that, you also get some snubs, and I actually just published an article about this on TWSN, kind of breaking down the biggest ones. So I'm just going to go over a couple that I think truly were robbed of a spot. First, starting with our Reds and Andrew Abbott, 7-1 record, 2.15 ERA, and a WHIP just above 1. His ERA is the fourth best in the NL and second for pitchers who have more than 80 innings pitched on the season. He has a 2.9 WAR, which is higher than 8 of the 11 starters who were selected to make the National League All-Star team. George Springer being snubbed for Julio Rodriguez, who has a sub 700 OPS, is just a crime. A trio of Phillies as well: Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, and Trey Turner also being snubbed off. Seiya Suzuki, who obviously he's a Cub and we don't like the Cubs, but he is having a stellar season, the RBI leader in the MLB, and then Junior Caminero getting left out for Alex Bregman and Jazz Chisholm also is very questionable. So those were just some of the more surprising snubs to me.
I don't know if this is something that's kind of new or maybe they've done it before. This Clayton Kershaw legend pick, is that something brand new? Do you know?
The only other time I remember it happening is when Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols were selected in the same year whenever they retired. I know that was like, at least to me, the first time I remember the legend pick from Rob Manfred himself. But yeah, it's fairly new because I can't think of any other time before that. But I know it's happened before with those two.
And I give them respect for that. Kershaw, if this is his last year, which I believe is been confirmed already, he deserves one more All-Star appearance and his flowers and a proper send-off. When
Absolutely.
probably Aaron Judge sends one of his fastballs 400 feet into
Probably
oblivion.
more than likely.
Yeah, just kind of looking down the list, there isn't any that I'm absolutely like too surprised by. The starting rotation of Hunter Brown, Chris Bubich, Garrett Crochet, Jacob DeGrom, Max Fried, Yossi Kikuchi, Tariq Skubal, Shane Smith, and Brian Wu. Pretty impressive, though. Brian Wu, of all the Seattle pitchers, finds a way onto the roster. As for the NL, Matthew Boyd, Mackenzie Gore, Clayton Kershaw, Freddie Peralta, Robbie Ray, Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler, and Yoshi Yamamoto. Do you think they give Kershaw the proper setting and let him start since this is his last one? Or do you think they kind of go with the normal best pitcher gets the ball?
I could see a world where they trot him out there for the first inning, and then after that he's done. Personally, I wouldn't do it because I believe the best pitcher should start the game.
Mhm.
But if this is going to be his last season, like you said, I mean, he's already been an All Star multiple times, has started an All Star game. But if they do that, I wouldn't be as upset. I think it would be a nice touch to an end of a what will be a Hall of Fame career. But me personally, I just wouldn't do it. But again, I won't be surprised if they did it.
Just a reminder: the All Star game will be next Tuesday night. First pitch is scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Do you watch the All Star game, Blake, or is it kind of just one of those things that's on in your background?
I will say, as of recent, I have been watching the All Star game. I'm personally one of the people before the NHL did their four nations face off thing that the MLB was the best All Star game. I mean, obviously, we've seen what they've done to the Pro Bowl and the NFL, and the NBA All Star game is just an absolute joke at this point and has been for years. So I think the All Star game for Major League Baseball has been one of the better ones. I'm not necessarily sure if I'm going to actually be able to watch it this year, but if I can't, then I'll at least have it on the background. But normally I do tend to turn in.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to 3 up, 3 down, which now will be a weekly recap of somebody who had a really, really good week and someone who had a really, really bad week, or it can be the team. Blake, I'll go ahead and let you start with one of your good picks.
Yeah, so for my good pick, I'm going to go with a guy who just recently made his MLB debut, White Sox shortstop Colson Montgomery. This is one I'm pretty proud of because he is from Indiana. He's from the homeland, same state as me. He made his MLB debut this weekend against the Rockies. In that series, he went 5 for 10 with 2 RBIs. His first major league hit was an RBI triple off the wall in right field in quarters. In the last 100 top 100 ranking that came out, he was the 9th prospect overall and has been the first in the White Sox organization for quite some time. He was a 2021 first round pick from Shortridge High School in Indiana, like I said. And a lot of people had kind of given up on him as a prospect. He's battled through a lot of injuries. So good to see him finally make his MLB debut, and also good to see him have a successful one at that.
Yeah, though I didn't know he had that good of a week hitting the ball, but I did see his amazing catch out there at shortstop, laid out for one, beautiful grab, and they were like, "That's what the rookie's going to bring us." And when you
Yeah.
kind of look through the White Sox system, I know a lot of people were kind of down on it, but there is some talent. It's going to take a little bit of time. They're going to need to completely restart and blow it up, but there is some talent pitching wise and definitely hitting wise down in their system that should be able to work their way on up. So for the second winner of the week, I'm going to go to the Blue Jays. We talked about it last week, me and Paris, and how they got off to that hot start in the series. And they ended up bringing the brooms and sweeping the Yankees. And now we're on an 8-game win streak, winners of 9 of their last 10, and currently 3 games up on the Yankees and the Rays. The Jays are hot. When we had our first show here and we were talking about everything going on, myself, uh, Garrett, and Logan, one of my questions was, do you think the Jays could hang around? And we all didn't think they could. Well, no, we were wrong. Not only are they going to hang around, they might be around all summer and a serious contender for the AL, let alone the AL East. Blake, any thoughts on right now what the Jays are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we said last week, the AL East has kind of been one of those divisions that has been completely turned upside down from what we expected. Obviously, I know we talked about it last week. We thought the Orioles and the Red Sox would be up there with the top, and now you have the Yankees, Blue Jays, and the Tampa Bay Rays of all teams fighting for that division lead. I mean, the Rays now are only 3 games back, tied with the Yankees. So good to see the Blue Jays doing it, especially with all the questions we had on if that Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, George Springer trio was actually going to work out, because it looked like it wasn't going to, and that they might even move on from all 3 of those pieces. Obviously, they just inked Vladdy to a historic deal. Still figuring out with Bo Bichette and George Springer too has been nothing but amazing for them so far. One of the best hitters in the AL behind Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge. So definitely good to see the Blue Jays hanging in there and now taking the division lead from the Yankees.
And just if you're curious, the last games that they played during the week, they got a 3-game series at the White Sox and a 3-game series at the A's. Sounds like a very hot team is going to stay hot going into the break.
Absolutely.
This is normally where we would have Garrett for the third up. However, Blake, do you want to give the third up or do you want to give the third down if you have another one?
I do not have another good, so.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and go with another good. It's Michael Busch and the Chicago Cubs. 8 home runs on Saturday, making the Cardinals' lives a living hell on July 4th. Absolutely just putting on a fireworks show themselves. Michael Busch had 3. I want to say Dansby Swanson had 1. PCA had 1. Another player had 2. I forget which hitter it was. But they were just knocking the ball all over the park on July 4th. My apologies, Friday, not Saturday, for 8 home runs, which is a franchise record, which when you think about it, it's kind of crazy because the Cubs have been around forever. And to set a record like that, very impressive stuff. Any thoughts on the Cubs and the home run show that they put on? And if not, go ahead and give us your first down of the week.
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs have, again, like we've always said, been one of those teams scratching and clawing. We didn't know where exactly they would be this season, but obviously with the emergence of Pete Crow Armstrong looking like a legitimate MVP contender, he's really been the workhorse for this lineup that has made everything click. And now you got guys like Seiya Suzuki, Michael Busch, as you mentioned, outperforming expectations and having career years. Reliable veterans like Dansby Swanson still kicking it. Justin Turner has been a solid contributor for a lot of games. And the Cubs, past the Rizzo, Bryant, Baez time where they blew it up and we didn't know how long it would take, now they're back and they are legitimate contenders.
PCA was the one who hit 2 home runs, by the way. Just double-checked on that. But, Blake, go ahead and give us your first down of the week.
Yeah, I think this was kind of more the obvious one to me. The biggest bad to me this week was the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, they've lost their last 10 straight, and it has been nothing but ugly. They got swept by the Cardinals, Cubs, and Tigers all in the last 9 games. They were 1 strike away from their first win in that time frame since June 25th. And again, 1 strike away. So what happens? Emmanuel Clase throws a wild pitch in the top of the 9th. Zach McKinstry ends up scoring, and then they end up losing 7-2 in extras. So obviously with the Ortiz thing, not great, but the Cleveland Guardians have been historically bad as of recent.
Yeah, something tells me they're going to be sellers here in about a week or 2. It'll be interesting to see who they move. We kind of talked about it last week. Emmanuel Clase is a name that possibly comes to mind. Stephen Kwan would be another person that I could see somebody maybe wanting his bat, a very reliable top of the order type lineup. But I'll ask you this. Is there any chance you think they could move on from Jose Ramirez?
I don't think you can unless it just turns into like a Rafael Devers situation where it just becomes ugly and toxicity in the locker room. I mean, he's been committed to them. They've been committed to him. We've seen that with recent extensions. It is possible, as we saw with the Rafi Devers thing, but I think if anyone stays in that team, it's going to be him.
That's fair enough. So for my down of the week, I was looking at Cleveland, as you mentioned. It was pretty obvious. However, I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Great. They swept the Cardinals. Proved us wrong. Won a 1-0 game with Paul Skeens on the mound. Blake, did you see how they followed it up?
I did not, actually. I don't know if you
The
enlightened me.
Mariners brought the brooms and won 6-0, 1-0, 1-0 over the weekend. They've got shut out for 27 innings out there in Seattle by that Seattle pitching staff. I don't understand it. Only Pittsburgh could do something like that. Props to Seattle. Was going to be my up, but Michael Bush was the third up, but Michael Bush took that. So I just rotated it around and gave the thumbs down to the Pittsburgh because go ahead and kick Pittsburgh while they're down. Any thoughts on that, Blake?
No, I think I jokingly said this in the TWSN Discord once. I think at this point, Paul Skeens just needs to take on a Shohei Ohtani role and start batting every game to give himself run support. Before he went to LSU, he was a member of the Air Force, and there's a very viral clip of him hitting a 2 or 3 run bomb against Texas that probably went a good 440 feet. And their celebration, by the way, is incredible with the salute at the plate. That's great. I love seeing that every time. But no, I mean, again, Paul Skeens would have to pitch like every single game for this team to even have a chance to be in the playoffs.
If you want to know how bad it really is, outside IKF and McCutcheon, no player in that lineup is hitting above 250.
That's bad.
That's bad. That is so bad. Shame on the Pirates organization. There's our weekly rip on the Pirates. You mentioned not having a second up. Do you happen to have a second down?
I do. This one, another team as well. This one is going to be the Atlanta Braves. They got swept by the Orioles and lost to the Angels in a rubber match. So 2 teams that on paper you would say they are clearly better than. On this week, Marcell Ozuna went 1 for 16, and Nick Allen continues to be a liability in the lineup, going 3 for 16. And again, Ronald Acuna Jr. is playing good. Ozzie Albies and Matt Olson have been solid, but those two just, at this point, for this week at least, being liabilities in the lineup. They now sit 13.5 games back of the Phillies in the NL East, and time is slowly but surely ticking down on the Atlanta Braves for this season for them to finally turn it around and make themselves contenders.
Yeah, I can't believe how bad Albies and Michael Harris has been this year. Ozuna, you're kind of getting. Usually you deal with that because he's got some pop. But Ozuna only has 11 home runs. It's not like it's been great there either. It just blows my mind how bad this team is. Because that's not like this team won a World Series, 2 years ago, right? If my brain's 3 years ago?
2021, I believe.
Okay, so wow. Okay, it's going on that long. Wow. It seems like forever ago. We joke around that they need to investigate 2023 Rangers. Well, how about we investigate the Braves too? Because all that hype. Yeah, even myself, like when you looked at this team, you talked about how it was building for quote unquote small markets, signing these young star players before they even hit arbitration to extra long deals. They've got Acuna locked up. They had Michael Harris locked up. They had Albies locked up. And now it's going to be like, who do they move on from possibly this year in order to try to create a reset? And where do they look? Because they have to be reconsidering the whole we're not going to trade Chris Sale thing, right?
Yeah, I would think so. And I mean, you look at this rotation too, like it's almost set up for success. I mean, you have Sale, you have Spencer Strider, who's electric when he's healthy, AJ Smith, Scheuer, Spencer Schwellenbacher. When all 4 of those guys are healthy and playing at their highest level, that is one of the best, at least top 4s in baseball when they're all on it. And whoever you throw in there at the 5th, even Dylan Fuentes, I believe is the guy's name, who has made some starts for them since Sale and everyone has been injured. But for whatever reason, it's not working. And I don't know if it's Brian Snitker or what the issue is, but something needs to change for the Braves because they shouldn't be doing this.
No doubt about it. Well, we're getting towards the end, so we'll get to our last segment, and it will be the rubber match picks of the week. Blake will have a matchup that he likes. I will have a matchup that we believe will both be going to a rubber match. So, Blake, I'll start with you. Who is your rubber match of the week?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Dodgers and the Brewers. You have some really exciting pitching matchups in this one. Game 1 today, you have Yamamoto versus Freddie Peralta, 2 all-stars right there. Game 2, you get the legend Clayton Kershaw versus the rising phenom Jacob Mizorowski, who just is coming off what is his worst start so far in his MLB career. He got rocked against the Mets, but again, we've seen what he can do. And in Game 3 for the rubber match, it would be Dustin May and Jose Quintana. Not the most exciting matchup, but when you look at both of these teams, both teams are 6-4 in their last 10, and both teams are in the hunt for the playoffs comfortably. Obviously, the Dodgers, one of the best teams in baseball, leading the NL West, and then the Brewers currently fighting and clawing their way with the Cubs, Cardinals, and Reds for the division crown in the NL Central, currently holding the first wild card spot if the playoffs started today. So my rubber match pick of the week is the Dodgers and the Brewers, and I'll just go ahead and make my pick now. I'm taking the Dodgers in this one.
Yeah, it's hard to go against the Dodgers right now. They're
Yeah.
just finding ways to win series, stacking up. Their lead still sits at 7 games over the Padres and Giants. So that's that. We'll see what happens. Still a long way to go. I'm hoping the Padres or Giants can somehow keep it close. Giants actually host the Dodgers this weekend, something to keep an eye on. But for my rubber match, I swear I'm not a Seattle fan. They just happen to keep ending up on my rubber match. The Yankees are traveling, or sorry, the Mariners are traveling to New York. And we got Gilbert, Evans, and Wu going for the Mariners, and Warren, Scheitler, and Stroman going for the Yankees. I believe that the Mariners are going to win this series. I don't ever trust Marcus Stroman, and I'll start with that whole mindset. And anything is going to be fun to follow. It is going to be Cal Raleigh and how many home runs he puts over that short porch out there in right field. He's sitting at 35, I now believe. It will be very, very close to possibly him getting 38 at the All-Star break, which is insane to think about. But that series, that matchup, Raleigh, Judge, peppering the ball over the ballpark. I like the Mariners, though, with the better pitching. Blake, any thoughts on the series? And then also your pick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you said it right there. Cal Raleigh versus Aaron Judge, the best two players in the American League currently, the two players who are going to be fighting for the AL MVP. I think personally, whoever wins that series is just going to be whether Aaron Judge or Cal Raleigh deposits the most balls in the short porch, to me personally. But looking at the pitching matchups, I trust Seattle more. Obviously, like you said, you can never really trust Marcus Stroman anymore. He's always a wild card. He'll either go out there and have a great game or give up like 8. So you never know there. And then I just trust Logan Gilbert and Brian Wu more. So I'm going to go with the Mariners.
I am interested to see who New York goes out and gets when it comes to a rotation piece, because they are going to add an arm. Maybe it's a Gallon, maybe it's an Alcantara, maybe they grab somebody way out of left field and they go get a guy like Sale. But there is no way that they're going to keep this rotation going forward into October, because they'll be knocked out in the first round.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Blake, any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
I didn't have anything prepared, but just thinking off the top of my head, I mean, I know you're a big NASCAR guy. Obviously, we're both Reds fans, so still looking forward to that Braves and Reds game at Bristol Field. Tyler Stevenson just recently put out his catcher's gear that he's going to be wearing for that game.
I will put that up right now.
Yeah, it's great. Let the people know. It is amazing. Ricky Bobby themed catcher's gear. Shout out Evo Shield, Tyler Stevenson, and the Reds for putting that together. That's going to look so great on the field. And again, we talk about growing baseball. Another one of those weird kind of things happening, like where did that come from? But I mean, you think about it, NASCAR is all about speed. Obviously, you got one of the brightest speedsters in the game in Ellie De La Cruz, along with Ronald Acuna Jr., who is also electric as well. So should be a fun series. I can't wait for that. I would love to go, but I know I can't. I know you kind of mentioned it. I don't know if you're going or if you've expressed interest in it, so I'll let you take that one, but I would love to go.
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can to go. I'm currently trying to figure out if we have the girls that weekend or we don't. If my girlfriend wants to go down, Bristol's a really short drive, obviously. I think it's maybe about 4.5, 5 hours. Trying to basically just talk to girlfriend if she wants to go. We'll drive down, we'll turn around, and we'll drive right back up, babe. We don't have to stay down there all night. It's Bristol. I'm not too worried about that. But no, I am absolutely excited. I want to be there so bad. It just is a cool thing. And like you said, you got speed when you talk about that series with Acuna and Ellie De La Cruz. And the setup even looks really cool. And the Stevenson stuff only fired me up some more.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to talk her into it. We'll wait and see what happens. But for that, again, welcome. Let's try this again. Thank you for listening to the Rubber Match Podcast. Myself and Blake greatly appreciate it, along with everybody else here over here at CX Podcast Network. We will also be, if you want to listen instead of just follow on YouTube, you can listen on Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and Spotify, all thanks to RSS.com. If you're watching us currently on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave us either picks. Give us maybe somebody we forgot to talk about or a snub yourself. Make sure you check out Blake's work over there at TWSN. He is putting out fantastic baseball stuff. And as always, till next time, peace.